in National City and Chula Vista. There's a weak onshore flow, which is bringing some clouds near the coast. Most areas are clear, but that will continue into tomorrow morning. It'll help a little bit as we go into the early morning hours, but by the afternoon, it is going to be hot all over the county. So a few patchy clouds just near the coast. The rest of the county will be clear as Santa Ana winds will be starting tonight. They will continue all the way through Thursday with hot and dry conditions through Friday. A wind advisory starts tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Thursday for our inland valleys, with wind gusts potentially reaching up to 50 miles per hour. So the combination of the heat and the winds will elevate fire danger, which means we have to be very cautious. Any activities, any machinery that could potentially start or spark a flame must be avoided. A heat advisory will start tomorrow also at 11 until 6 p.m. on Friday. So the heat advisory will be lasting a day longer. High pressure will be the culprit behind the big warm up and this taste of summery weather that we're expecting through the end of the week. Once it breaks down, look at what happens. Low pressure dives south and it'll bring cooler weather for next week, potentially also gusty conditions. These on Friday with those dry Santa Ana winds. Again, Wednesday and Thursday, deserts around 103 on Friday, but also cooling back down heading into early next week.
Beach weather tomorrow.
And it was a lot warmer outside. It is 68 degrees right now in Escondido, 61 in Carlsbad, 65 Kearney Mesa. And as we look at the satellite and radar here, there's a few clouds. Most of them are going to be just along the immediate coastline, which means patchy clouds expected for tonight, and that will help just a little bit for the early part of the day. Santa Ana winds expected for tomorrow on Thursday, and the heat will be ongoing through the end of the week. A wind advisory will start tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for our inland communities here. The winds could gust as high as 50 miles per hour, and of course the combination of the heat and the winds will elevate fire danger, so we'll have to be very cautious. The heat advisory starts a few hours later, right around 11 until 6 p.m. on Friday for both coast and inland communities. High pressure will stay in place until the weekend, when a low pressure system will start to dive south, and this is what could potentially bring that cooler setup for next week, and maybe even the possibility for a few showers Monday night into Tuesday. We'll see how it all plays out, and most certainly it's going to be cooler and possibly windy.
We'll take it. If we can get some rain, cool us off after this week, we will take it.
Yeah,
yes,
we always need it.
Expected. So as we look at the visibility, we talked about how it's lowering. It's down to 4 miles in Imperial Beach, 6 miles in Oceanside, and 7 in Carlsbad. So it's not terribly low, but it's still somewhat of a concern as we go into the morning hours. The clouds will clear very quickly, and that is because Santa Ana winds will be back on track tomorrow. They're going to last all the way through Thursday. A heat advisory for inland communities and coastal areas. Temperatures here near the coast will be in the mid to upper 80s. Expecting that heat, of course, to subside over the weekend. You'll see those numbers dropping Saturday, Sunday into the 70s and 60s. But for Thursday, numbers in the 90s, well above average for this time of the year. I've heard from a lot of our viewers saying this is way too early. It is only April, but look at this. 90s from Oceanside, Encinitas, Coronado, Chula Vista, and also downtown San Diego, possibly reaching 93 degrees. If that happens, we would tie the record of 93 for Thursday. I've also shared some of the possible records for Thursday on Facebook. Then we head into Friday, and there's the possibility of records near the coast. 90s in Chula Vista. The record is 87, so we have a pretty good chance at potentially breaking that record, setting a new record. Also for our inland communities tomorrow, one of the differences will be the wind, with a wind advisory starting in the morning at 6 a.m. Gust here could reach up to 50 miles per hour. Now, as we look at the temperatures and the possibility for records, it'll be true for both Thursday and Friday. Some of the numbers we could see: 97 Escondido, the record 103, so we're going to be close, but potentially breaking records in areas like Alpine with 93 degrees, the record there at 98. On Friday, around 99 degrees, so it gets even hotter for the end of the week, but the winds turn direction and a storm system moves in, with the possibility, just a slight chance, that we could see a few showers next week. Maybe a glimmer of hope, especially after the heat we're expecting this week.
Thank you, Angelica.
Just at 65 degrees, dew points right around 60. It feels like 64, so very close to the actual temperature. The winds coming out of the east for the eastern portion of the county. The winds will be impacting mostly our foothills and inland communities, where we have a wind advisory until 4 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. Our heat advisory will stay in effect until 6 p.m. on Friday for both inland communities and coastal areas, where the temperatures will be close to 20 degrees above normal, if not higher than that. Since yesterday, we've seen the numbers go up about 12 degrees in Ramona, Warner Springs, and Julian. Not a huge difference near the coast, and what's really making the difference between the last 24 hours and now, it's actually that weak onshore flow. Temperatures are in the mid-60s in Carlsbad, but for the next 3 days, it'll average right around 90 degrees for tomorrow, 87 Friday, 70 Saturday, by Sunday 69, and then cooler with the winds increasing on Monday ahead of that storm. Inland communities will stay closer to the upper 90s Thursday and Friday, then back to 75 degrees on Sunday. Next week, looking at 69, 65 will be warm through the weekend, but next week also much cooler on Monday, 81, 70s by Tuesday.
Gonna need the whole wardrobe this week, Angelica. Thanks.
And sometimes when both are in effect, they kind of flip-flop just like they did right now. But in orange, this is the heat advisory, which extends all the way to the coastal communities until 6 p.m. on Friday, because the warmest days are still ahead. For San Diego tomorrow, temperatures could average around 90 degrees, getting close to the record of 93. In Chula Vista, we could surpass that record of 89 with 90 degrees. Also, a good chance at breaking records in El Cajon, but we'll stay below the record in Ramona, Alpine, and Palomar Mountain. As you can see, it is still going to be fairly warm out there. The wind advisory that's now in effect, it's been in effect since this morning at 6 a.m. and the winds will most likely peak overnight into early tomorrow morning. It's not too bad right now. Actually, the winds have subsided a little bit for a few spots close to 30 miles per hour right now. Again, as we put our wind futurecast in motion, the winds will peak tomorrow morning, and in this area highlighted by this color, the fuchsia color, most likely the winds could trend between 30 to as high as 50 miles per hour for those typically windier places. And the wind will be something we'll talk about not just for the next couple of hours and into tonight, but also next week. And here's why. High pressure is in place. This is the main feature, the main event, like Derek said. And this is what's going to keep those temperatures above average for the next couple of days. It will start to break down over the weekend. A storm to the north will start to bring down cooler air. And look how close it gets to Southern California. That increases our chances to see some showers. We'll see whether or not this could be good. The average for the month is still about 1/10 of an inch below, but hey, we could catch up. As we look at next week, just like everyone else, we'll start to see a nice improvement.
All right. Thank you, Angelica.
This afternoon, just kind of staying out there near the coast, and as soon as temperatures started to drop, it just made a comeback. But we're also expecting temperatures to be close to records tomorrow. We'll see whether or not the marine layer allows areas like San Diego and Chula Vista to be this warm. If the temperatures start heating up inland quicker than the coast, what could happen is an inversion, and that could potentially trap the marine layer. So it gets quite tricky as we head into tomorrow. A wind advisory continues. If the winds are strong enough and they make it all the way to the coast, it would help to clear that marine layer. Otherwise, patchy fog will be on track for tomorrow morning. Now, as we look at the winds, they're gusting up to 20, 30 miles per hour, but they don't make it all the way to the coast. That is keeping the marine layer in place. The winds will peak tomorrow as we go into the early morning hours between 6 and 8 a.m. with wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour, potentially under that wind advisory. But the good news is that the winds will subside by the evening time, and then on Friday it won't be as windy. At the coast, 90 degrees tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting those temperatures again to heat up quickly once the marine layer clears, with the potential to see temperatures closer to the 90s tomorrow. But if we're being honest with ourselves with that marine layer, it could potentially keep those numbers most likely in the 80s, which would really help things out, especially as far as comfort and for anyone who has to be outside or who do not have air conditioning, which is very common also near our coastal communities. Inland areas will average right around 97 degrees tomorrow. We're going to start out with comfortable conditions between 7 8 a.m. After that, the numbers quickly heat up by 11, mid-80s and 90s into the afternoon, with temperatures official rain, and it keeps adding more moisture to the fuel, which long-term would help with our fire danger as well.
Sure. Brief heat, but intense.
Yes.
Thanks, Angelica.